how will the situation change? So what part of the monopoly's cost will change?
Fixed cost.
Fixed cost will change. The variable cost will remain as it is. Right?
It's like the fisherman example.
Exactly. So this will become 15 plus 3. Right?
Huh.
What the margin, will the margin revenue change?
No, marginal cost will not change.
Margin revenue will not change, marginal cost will not change.
Exactly.
So the quantity produced will continue to be 17 by 6. Right?
Yeah.
And because the quantity produced 17 by 6, the price will continue to be 17 by 6. Right? The price will be continued to be whatever, given by 20 minus 3 into 17 by 6. Right? So 20 minus 17 by 2. Right? 20 minus 17 by 2 is whatever the price. So price and quantity will not change. So what is the only thing that will change?
Fixed cost.
Yeah, and the total profits is the only thing that's going to change.
Yeah.
The entire shock will have to be, entire tax will have to be absorbed by the monopolist. Right? The entire tax will have to be absorbed by the monopolist. Right? Whereas if the government says, you have to now, because you are polluting the environment, right? Because you are polluting the environment, we are going to put a tax on every single unit that you produce.
Then the marginal cost.
Yeah,
will
so
change.
every single unit that you produce, you have to pay one more unit of tax. Right?
Yeah.
Every single unit you produce, because you are producing something which is really environmentally very damaging. For example, you are producing plastic bags, and these plastic bags will clog all the drains, and so you have to spend money to collect the drain, clean the drains from the plastic bags. So we are going to charge you. Right? You have to pay for it because you guys are making profits, and therefore we are going to charge you 1 rupee per bag extra. So what is the change that will happen? The marginal cost will increase, right? So you have to pay an additional cost of 4. So this will become 4Q. Right? If this becomes 4Q, what will be the marginal cost now? 4.
Yeah.
4. Right? Marginal revenue stays what it is.
Yeah.
So, what will be the immediate impact? The equilibrium required, MR is equal to MC. Therefore, 20 minus 6Q is equal to 4.
16 by 16 by 6.
Right. So, the quantity will be 16 by 6. Quantity will be 16 by 6, right? So, has the quantity increased or fallen? Fallen. The monopolist will produce less because the marginal cost has gone up. What will that have? What implication will that have for the price?
Price will have increased.
Price will have increased. Right? What was the previous price? Previous price was P1 will call this 20 minus 3 into 17 by 6. P2, the changed price is 20 minus 3 into 16 by 6. Right? So what was P1? If those with the calculators, can you tell me what was P1?
Second one is 12.
Second one is 12. This is 12.
11.5.
So price has gone up by 0.5 units. So has the monopolist been able to push on the entire tax to the consumer? No. 1 rupee cost has increased. 50% of that, 50 paise he has passed on to the consumer. Price has gone up by 50 paise. The monopolist has borne 50% of the tax. Right? The monopolist has borne 50% of the tax. If you have to show this graphically, how will you show this?
No, sorry, it's 14.
It's 40?
Yeah.
Sure? No,
12.
12 because this is 3 upon 6.
Huh.
So this
4
will go
minus-
from here.
4
This
minus
is-
20 minus 4.
Sorry.
So 20 minus 4 is 6. It's 40. It's 12. No? Okay. So can you show this graphically? If you have to show this graphically, how will you show this? If you have to show this graphically, how will you show this? How will you construct a graph to show this? If I have to ask you to construct a graph, क्या करेंगे अपन? How will you do this graph? Yeah? Yeah? So this is the average revenue curve. This is the marginal revenue curve, right? This is the previous marginal cost curve, MC1, right? The new marginal cost curve will be 1 unit higher. The marginal cost here is straight line, really. Yeah. So what's the marginal cost in the first place? 3. 3. Pehle 3 tha, na? Right. So it's exactly the same. So this is the monopoly quantity. 1. Right? Now what has happened? It has gone up, right? So it has gone up. Right? So quantity is fallen. Right? Okay? And the price has increased. Right? Price has increased too. Sure? What has happened to the deadweight loss? What is the previous deadweight loss? So the previous deadweight loss, see, this is the consumer surplus, this is the producer surplus, right? So this is what would have happened under efficiency. So has the deadweight loss stayed the same? Okay. So can you do a calculation and to show me that the deadweight losses remain the same? That's homework, right? Check what has happened to the deadweight loss. Now in this simple example, you know how to calculate the deadweight loss, right? So check with the deadweight losses. Okay. Now tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. What is the extent to which the quantity has fallen by this gap? What is the extent to which the price has fallen, price has increased? By this gap, right? What are the determinants of these gaps? What determines that gap?
Change in marginal cost.
What would determine this length or correspondingly this length? The slope of the demand curve. If the demand curve is indeed steeper, right, what would happen? If the demand curve was steeper, so let me draw a steeper demand curve, right? Let me draw a steeper demand curve for you, because we are going to have something very interesting, right? Okay. So let me draw a. This is my one average revenue curve. This is my one marginal revenue curve. This is my marginal cost, right? So I have MC1, MC2, QM1, QM2, P1, P2. Okay? And the same graph, let me draw a
Flatter.
steeper AR2, MR2, right? So what would have been the previous equilibrium? I'll call it QM star 1, right? Yeah, this was MC1, right? Oh, sorry, it would have been, I'm not sorry, it should have been here.
1, 2, 3.
It would have been the point at which the marginal cost equals marginal revenue, right? And then this would have been the change, right? And how much is the price changed? The price would have been here. Right. So where is the greater change? In the previous example. What can you intuitively tell me? I'm going to give you a formal mathematical treatment of this, but can you intuitively tell me what's happened? What does a steeper demand curve mean?
Inelastic.
A steeper demand curve means the more elastic demand curve. Right? So more elastic the demand curve, the less is the monopolist's ability to pass on the margin.
Inelastic, sir. Steeper means inelastic. Steeper inelastic and flatter elastic.
What do you mean by elastic demand curve?
Changes more. If mine with change in cost, it will affect more.
What's this? What's the, okay. Think of this. Think of this demand curve and think of this demand curve. Right? So I have a price and a quantity here. Right? This is P1, this is Q2. and this was on the older diagram, this was Q, right? If I change the price, where does the quantity shift more? You see, the problem is, the reason we are getting this issue is because what we really have is not the demand curve here. We have the inverse demand curve. You see, because what is the demand curve? Demand curve is quantity as a function of price. Right? The demand curve is quantity as a function of price. Whereas what do we have on this y-axis here? Price. Right? So this is not really the demand curve, it is the inverse demand curve. Right? It tells you how price responds to quantity. So more inelastic is this. Right? Okay, the more inelastic is this. Right? The steeper this is. If this is steeper, what does it mean? Right? For so what does this mean for a steeper curve? Yeah, what does it mean if this curve is steeper?
Inelastic.
So let's do that. Right? What do we have here is so let's write that down. Okay? Let's understand these relationships a little bit more. So I have price is equal to 20 minus 2. Right? What is elasticity of this?
Change in quantity.
dt by dq into q upon p. Right? Whereas if I have q is equal to 20 minus 3p. Okay? This is what you mean by the demand curve? So what is elasticity? dq by dp into p upon q. Right? That is elasticity. Now you see that these two are reciprocals of each other? Right? So the elasticity of this curve will be the reciprocal of the other curve. Right? So if you have a more elastic demand curve, you will get something less elastic here. Yeah? Right? A more inelastic demand curve would be the less than elastic demand curve here, right? Now when I make something steeper, I make it more inelastic, which means I make the demand curve more elastic. Right? I make the demand curve more elastic. So effectively, greater the elasticity of demand, obviously, right, less is the ability of the monopolist to pass on the tax to the consumer. Right? The monopolist has to bear the tax himself. Right? So if you're trying to tax a monopolist for pollution, right? Okay, and if you wanted to sort of make the monopolist pay for pollution, it is a good idea. If your ability to do that will be less if what the monopolist is producing actually has a very inelastic demand. If it has an elastic demand, then obviously the monopolist will not be able to push on the taxes to the consumers, but otherwise the monopolist will, right? See, very often we talk of these things in a very loose fashion. We say when taxes have gone up, now the costs will go up. Right? When we say, for example, that restaurants are going to be charged the service tax, we assume that actually what people are going to buy from restaurants will also, the price of food at restaurants will also go up. Right? Okay? That will not go up unless restaurants believe that the demand curve for restaurants is highly inelastic. Right? So only when the demand curve for restaurants is highly inelastic will the restaurateurs, will the owners of restaurants be able to push on the entire tax to the customers. If it is not, then if they add on the service tax or the Swachh Bharat tax to your bills, that means that actually fewer people will go to restaurants. Right? Fewer people will go to restaurants. And which is important when you are estimating how much revenue will be generated. Right? How much revenue will be generated. Of course, that's true of restaurants. The restaurants are not monopolists, but I'm assuming that you have a monopolist restaurant, right? And which is able to, or in general, anywhere where the demand curves are downward sloping, this will really be the case, right? So you see the point? Sure? Right? Okay. Okay, so let me now do some standard formulae for you, okay, which are very usual in the monopoly literature. is price into quantity. Okay, right? So you can think of right? We can think of price as some function of quantity. We think of price now as some function of quantity, right? P of Q, I write this as some function of quantity. Right. Now, if you differentiate total revenue with respect to quantity, what will you do? You'll use the chain rule. Right. So that will be PQ plus
Q.
right? Sure, which is nothing but PQ right? Okay? Right. Now, if I divide throughout by P, sure? If I divide throughout by P, what will I get is, so this is marginal revenue. I can divide throughout by P and multiply outside by P. If I divide throughout by P, this will become 1 and this will become P, no? This will become Q by P. Right? If I divide throughout by P, that P will become 1 and this will become Q upon P into dP by dQ. Right? But because I have divided by P throughout, I multiply by P from outside. Right? So this is marginal revenue. Now, can you recognize this quantity? dP by dQ up to Q by P. It is the inverse of the elasticity. Right? Does everybody realize why this is the inverse of the elasticity of demand? Yeah? Why is the inverse of the elasticity of demand? Does everybody realize this? Right? So this means, so we have, therefore, we can write marginal revenue into, right, 1 upon the elasticity of demand, right, plus whatever. So we use negative whatever that quantity is, right? Okay, so it's the elasticity of demand, right? Okay, so I just forget this, right? 1 upon E. I think that's better to write, right? Now, in general, E will be negative, right? In general, E will be negative. Okay. Now think of an interesting situation. We have a monopolist who sells in 2 markets. Okay, who sells in 2 markets. Suppose I am a monopolist who, say, sells cement in South India and the rest. So 2 states of India, right? Say Karnataka and Maharashtra. I sell cement in Karnataka and Maharashtra. I am the only seller of cement in Karnataka and Maharashtra. I also have somehow, I can prohibit people from Maharashtra from buying my cement and selling it in Karnataka, and I can also prevent people in Karnataka from buying my cement and selling it in Karnataka. Or think of me as selling burgers, right? Or think of me as selling, say something, suppose think of me as running a haircut franchising, right? The reason I'm telling you this is because then my assumption allows me to have this assumption that I can't buy haircuts in Karnataka and sell them in Maharashtra, right? I can't buy haircuts in Maharashtra and sell them in Karnataka, right? So that rules out arbitration, right? And I want to decide what prices to charge in Karnataka and Maharashtra, right? What prices to charge in Karnataka and Maharashtra. So I'm doing price discrimination, but I'm doing geographical price discrimination, right? Okay, I'm doing price discrimination across regions. I'm charging a different price across regions. Okay? What do you think my policy should be? How does this help you? Okay. Consideration between the marginal revenue that I earn in Maharashtra and the marginal revenue that I earn in Karnataka. What do you think should be the relationship between the two? If I am maximizing profits.
according to elasticity of.
Yeah, but how will you prove that? You see, what happens is, you would agree that if I'm maximizing profits by selling to these two markets, then in equilibrium, my marginal revenues must be identical. The margin revenue that I get from Karnataka must be the same as the margin revenue that I get from Maharashtra. If the margin revenue that I get from Maharashtra is more than the margin revenue I get from Karnataka, it makes sense to sell more in Maharashtra and less in Karnataka. Which will mean that the marginal revenues in Maharashtra will go down and those in Karnataka would rise. So in equilibrium, the margin revenue in Karnataka and margin revenue in Maharashtra will have to be the same. Right? Is this okay? Sure? Right? So, if, think of one upon 1 plus P1 as the marginal revenue in Maharashtra, right? E2 as the marginal revenue in Karnataka. P1 is the price in Maharashtra, E1 is the elasticity of demand in Maharashtra, P2 is the price in Karnataka, E2 is the elasticity of demand in, right? So it means in equilibrium I must have MR1 is equal to MR2, right? Or I must have right? Or I must have from this, I must have
P1 upon P2 is equal to
P1 upon P2 is equal to
1 plus E2 upon E2 upon 1 plus 1 upon E1.
right? Sure? Sure? Now, in which region will the price be high? In which region will haircuts be costly? In Maharashtra or Karnataka? In which region will haircuts be costlier? From this graph, from this equation, which region will haircuts be costlier? So suppose E2 is the same as E1. What is the relation between the two prices?
Equal.
The ratio will be 1. No?
Yeah.
Prices are equal.
The ratio will be 1. If E2 is greater than E1, then what's going to happen? This fraction will be smaller than this fraction.
Yeah.
So this will be smaller than this. So P1 will be smaller than P2. Right? So wherever elasticity of demand is higher, right? Okay, so if E2 is high, so if E2 is higher than E1, okay, if E2 is higher than E1, this fraction will be smaller than this. The E2 is higher, this fraction will be smaller than this fraction. So this will be smaller than this, and therefore P1 will be smaller than P2, right? P1 will be smaller than P2, right? So E2 greater than E1, right, means actually, so what does that mean?
Price would be less than
P1 will be so
Price in P1 will less than P2.
If E2 is greater than E1, right?
price
P1 is price in Maharashtra, P2 is price in
Yeah.
Karnataka.
So Karnataka will be good.
So suppose if E2 is greater than E1,
So
okay,
P1 is lesser than P2.
what does that mean? So let's do a sum,
Price in
okay? Let's do a sum, right? Let's do a sum, okay? Suppose E2 is minus 0.1, right? Okay? E2 is minus 0.1 and P1 is minus 0.5. What will be the ratio of the two prices? So P1 upon P2 is yeah? Right? So what is 1 upon 0.1?
minus 9.
Minus 10. Right, so this will be P1 upon P2 is 1 minus 10. Right? And this will be
1 plus minus 2.
Sir, 1 minute.